Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.co's Daily Brief. Dun, dun, dun. Here we are back in the saddle. Let's make sure YouTube is on. Is YouTube on? Come on, YouTube. Hey, there we go. So YouTubers are YouTubing away. Nice to see we've got the bear in the house today, giving us a his update from, I think they let him out of the jungles of Africa. No. Antarctica? I think it was Antarctica. So we've got a nice presentation for you in store, and Thomas and I were reviewing earlier, and he says he's got a whole bunch of candy to throw at you guys. So hello, sir. How are you today?
Hey.
There he is. We did the, if you want content, we did pretty long review yesterday of some ideas that you guys had posted in the daily brief request room. So we looked at a few of those ideas as well. We did the Coinigy show last night, and unfortunately it sucks, but we're going through a correction period in the market. Things are cleaning themselves up, so it can't be all like, ponies and sunshine every day. And if I understand correctly, I see short setups are working away. This is a pretty big one. I mean, this range here is only a paltry, what, $6,000. So I can completely understand that there's going to be some back and forth through this massive formation. I also noticed too, last night, that as we were sort of doing the Coinigy show, we came into actually this 2-to-1 risk reward setup tag of Mountain Man here on Stamp that we had been following for a while. So it kind of made sense to me on that tag that we'd probably have a bit of back and forth. But there is that AB equals CD that you see on the OKCoin market, and that particular setup right now, this massive trade. And frankly speaking, I don't even know if you could actually even put this trade on, given that you'd have to basically be able to risk $1,000 on a contract. I don't even know if OKCoin would allow you to have that much wiggle room. But nonetheless, on this setup, stop to scratch has been hit. So really at this point, anybody who did consider taking this bot, worst case scenario, you just get stopped at scratch. But you can see that it's just working away. And we might even be doing an AB equals CD to take us down into here. You can sort of see it developing now. So there is that going on. It's interesting. I'm slowly nibbling away. And, it's kind of interesting. We get into these periods in the market where I go into sort of buying mode, and usually the market's pretty sanguine, very quiet. A lot of people really aren't that interested in our space. Thomas was even just mentioning earlier, probably most people that bought a couple months ago are getting absolutely destroyed now. And so it really shouldn't surprise our audience that Brian's back in on the buy side, just slowly nibbling away. You can see I'm not betting the farm on any of these purchases, just slowly chipping away. I would consider most of the ideas right now just nothing more than that nanny nibbles, buying trade location. I don't think we're at the point of pound the table. We're nowhere near pound the table kind of idea. But our counsel to all of you guys was altcoins probably, start to look for some firmness as we come into that 420 event, right? That's usually a sort of a mark that I've seen in the past where things start to turn around a bit. So, here we are. In fact, we are at the Ides of March. And we also have this massive quarterly options expiry in the stock market. So, we've talked about this before. I think that there is definitely a sort of agenda to park price at specific levels. We looked at those put open interest there a few days ago. So my hunch is, we might see some fireworks through today, but I get the funny feeling that they just want to park the market up top here into the expiry tomorrow. And then the only other thing I would say with regard to Bitcoin is Monday, Tuesday, we have this big G20 conference coming. So, guys, we might see some bullshit through this weekend here, real fuck with the kids heading into that event. So just be forewarned. And as we sort of talked about here, there are short setups working. So I don't think it's really the best idea to be a hero here and go and bet the farm. I did see, in the lounge this morning, people were posting that they saw little things like El Tangonator setup setting up for a bounce back to 50% levels, maybe back to tag the bottom of value. You can see the profile itself has got a lot of holes in it. So could we do some backfilling through the remainder of this week, setting us up for the weekend and what I would consider sort of the final dump into that conference Monday, Tuesday? I think that makes sense, but that's just my rhetoric. Okay, so with all that said, that's sort of what Brian's thinking right at the moment. Mr. Bear, where shall we go first today?
Yeah, let's start off with equity market. Let's take a look at some news that's coming out from the White House. And, well, it's not news yet from the White House. What we're looking for is the replacement of Gary Cohn with Larry Kudlow. So anyone that watches,
incredible.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, they're going to bring this guy into Trump's fold, and he's going to pretty much be the director of the National Economic Council. So for those of you who don't know who Kudlow is and don't watch him on CNBC and what his ideals are for the market, is that he is essentially for strong dollar and open trade, which is pretty much the exact opposite of what Trump's two core principles are, which are a weak dollar and obviously these new tariffs and the NAFTA regulations on steel and aluminum. So Kudlow has openly expressed concern with these tariffs, but he did say that they make sense as a kind of a means for negotiation with China. But with that being said, he does think that Trump needs to be open to these types of negotiations and keep trade open throughout the world in order to encourage the United States to remain in the position it's at. I think that getting Larry Kudlow into this position is going to be good for the economy with as long as Trump listens to him. We all know that Trump isn't the best listener, but that's not something we're going to discuss here. The other important thing that I want to mention has to do with Boeing. And there was an article that also came out from CNBC about the plans that China has with Boeing. And if there's a trade war going on, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about this whole thing, is that if NAFTA and these specific trade plans are enacted, China's going to hit back. And the way that they hit the United States back is by not buying as many airplanes from Boeing. And Boeing is a huge stock, a huge part of the stock market. And evidently, according to this article, company says 1 out of every 4 jetliners rolling off its assembly lines is brought to their Chinese customers. So if they do instill these tariffs, China has announced that they will decrease the amount of purchasing that they do from Boeing and instead buy from their European competitor, Airbus.
Can I put a chime in here for a second?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really interesting listening to the Canadian Prime Minister yesterday. And Mr. Trump doesn't realize that this is a multilateral game that he's playing. He believes that it's his way or nothing else. And his policy about Boeing and the Bombardier C-Series jet has completely backfired. Trump tried to play hardball with the Canadians and Bombardier and the C-Series jet, and it completely backfired. And now Bombardier is working very closely with Airbus. So I thought it was real. I don't know whether anybody, especially Canadians, you should listen to that interview that Trudeau did yesterday. I mean, Trudeau has really learned how to play the role. He's doing well, but what Mr. Trump doesn't understand is that he's not necessarily holding the strongest deck of cards here. And if he does, play hardball, that other people are going to benefit from his very strong actions. And I thought that was everybody watch. You know what? You want to watch the nuances of international trade. Watch how this Bombardier deal went with because Bombardier was supposed to hook up with Boeing. Trump played hardball. Boeing and Bombardier deal fell apart, and Bombardier just hopped over and did a deal with Airbus. So exactly what you're saying here. Mr. Trump's playing with fire here if he's with all this tariff talk.
Yeah, he has no idea what would happen if he starts instilling these types of tariffs. I mean, we just export so many goods to these big economic powerhouse countries, and it's gonna spell disaster for us. So this is exactly why Trump also. Sorry, can you still hear me?
I can hear you, but I'm looking at a Doge.
Oh, whoops. That was supposed to be for later. I spoiled the surprise.
Okay. That's hilarious that Larry Kudlow, of all people, is elevated in Donald Trump's White House. Oh, my goodness.
I went to college with his daughter.
Yeah. I've known Larry for years.
I'll have to reach out to her and see what she knows. Anyway, so let's take a look at Boeing stock here. The reason that CNBC has a headline that says that the Dow has erased its 250-point loss from yesterday, or is up 250 points today because Boeing has reversed and is no longer going down, according to their headline. So we can take a look at the Boeing stock here. You can see it's been 3 days of constant downside. And then today it's trying to reverse. I don't know that it doesn't look like an up day just yet. But this just goes to show how big of a component Boeing is in this economy. And if you do see, again, China pulling back their orders from Boeing, it's going to impact the stock and therefore the equity market in the United States. So keep an eye on this. I know we talked about Exxon the other day. Nothing's really happening with that trade as of now. If anything, it's positive, but we did say that we want to be looking on the upside before seeing this roll over again. So between Exxon and Boeing, I think we've got great trading opportunities if you want to play your short-term day trader setups on this, or even options. That was definitely something in the cards that we mentioned on Tuesday. So this one
surprised me coming down into that tail there over on the left side. That like that's a little liquidity window right in there, right? Yeah. It looks to me like it's almost like a massive head and shoulders that's trying to form here.
Yeah, the problem is we've got some confirmations in the indicators that we're going to be continuing to go downward after this, if this does bounce. I mean, I guess I'd like to see a target of this cross here. Looks like that would probably be 38.2 by the time this plays out. So if anyone wants to...
the 4-hour chart, let's see if there's any gaps up in there.
Yeah, I would definitely be looking for options here. So let's see the 4-hour chart. Yeah, I mean, there's a gap that's already been filled here. That's been filled. So most of these gaps on the 4-hour chart look like they're filled.
Oh, I see. Right, actually off of the high there, it looks like there's a cheeky little gap right up top there.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, right up in there.
Yeah, this is kind of putting in a little bit of a bullish divergence that has the potential to form. Got to wait for that one to play out. But
and think about symmetry too. Like take a time analysis from that peak all the way back over to, it looks like January. Well, interesting. So if you sort of did a symmetrical move in this market, where would that take us? And that almost looks like, where are we here? We're, I guess, about the second week of February, so about a month and a half. So that should take us into I guess maybe like April time period. I wonder, it'd be interesting, to see from Julian whether there's any like key executive changes or any sort of, big deals or anything that are in the works there.
Yeah.
to correspond with that. So, anyway.
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much more time on the equity market, but I do want to mention there's something called XLK, which is an aggregate of all the tech sectors, of all the tech names. And you can see, and if you go back and look at the other sectors, XLK is the only one that has outperformed since January. This one looks also a little bit tired to the upside, which just kind of goes along with what we're thinking in the stock market. So we're going to keep watch on this and see what happens over the next few days, and watch how this unfolds in correlation with Bitcoin. So I know Brian gave you, I mean, Brian, do you want to touch on anything else here before we move on to crypto?
No, I don't think so. Broader market, anything that really jumps out at me that needs mentioning. I think everything looks like it's just sort of business as usual. Again, this is a big options expiry tomorrow. So I don't think you're going to see too big a movement from current levels here until probably Monday, Tuesday. And then, of course, Monday, Tuesday is that G20 shit, right?
Yeah.
So, I could see, if we have riots and stuff in whatever city that is and all that kind of crap, I could see maybe them use those riots and stuff as an excuse to knock the stock market down. Something like that kind of scenario wouldn't surprise me at all.
Mm-hmm.
What's that? That's the gold, eh? Gold's looking a bit heavy there right now.
Yeah, it seems to dip into that 38.2 level and then come back up again. But this one looks like, I mean, what time is it? We're noon on the East Coast. So yeah, we got another 3 hours left for this to trade on the COMEX.
We'll see how this closes. Perfect analogy there, though, of just letting 38.2 resolve here, right? This is just an absolutely horrible trade location.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to take a trade until we break below these before this neckline. I mean, this would be a great short to take if this comes up. You could see that we're probably straight down into the 1300 to 1290 range would be my guess.
Well, and also, too, if we accept back into there, all the level twoers are going, Hogs 80% play. Well, it'd be interesting is to see if there's any cheeky gaps on the lower time frames right off of those lows down at about 1240, 1230 area. That would be really interesting. But maybe we'll look at that another day.
Bitcoin.
The Bitcoin tastes great.
Yeah, so let's Brian covered the technicals. I think that there's no doubt about it. This market is not looking good. I'm going to bring up a weekly chart for everyone just so that you can get an idea of what you should be thinking on the higher time frames. And if we can make this look nice, you can kind of see you've got up, down, this is your neckline, back up, and then look where this red bar is in relation to the neckline. I mean, that to me means there's my dramatic.
It was a good try. I love those Doge references. They're hilarious.
I mean, this is really dangerous, guys. When you see a potential M like this, or even a confirmed M like this on the weekly chart, I mean, there's nothing that gets more powerful than that. I don't like this. This looks pretty bad. In my opinion, hang on. If we do get that close below the neckline, we're looking at our real retracement levels here. 78.6 is definitely a real possibility. And I know 2,000 to 3,000 is what everyone else is thinking. But there's a lot of traffic in this area. I'd like to see, and I do see that the $6,000 area, kind of where we stopped on this tail, is probably where we'll consolidate next. That's like your next stop downward, if you will. And depending on what happens from that level, I mean, I'm still expecting more down, but after this G20 meeting, there's a good possibility that we could rally depending on what happens there. But I'm not calling bottoms anytime soon. And remember, we keep mentioning probably since the initial sell-off that these sell-offs last a long time. And it takes a while for the market to clean itself up. And we may be halfway through that process. Maybe. I don't even think we're there yet. These things take a long time. So
it's March, and we topped out. What was the date of the top? The middle of December?
Yeah, it's 4 months now.
Yeah, I got a good 3 months of this torture, eh?
Yeah.
It'd be interesting. Yeah, I used to work with a guy who used to say, what's the 90-day high? What's the 90-day low? What's the 90-day high? What's the 90-day low? So it's interesting how we're basically near the bottom end of the range of the 90-day range here. And like I told everybody yesterday, I actually have bids working down at like 5,100 area on Bitcoin. I think if we could get a nice little panic dump into this G20, I kind of agree. I think we break those lows. It was interesting. Somebody on the site yesterday was asking what's Phoenix's order book look like because it bounced off of that 6,000 really hard. And you do see a half decent bid there. It's only for about 300 coins though. That really isn't that much. Do they go and blast those guys? Wash the stops just below that tail low. And then, a nice little counter trend rally right back up, maybe even come back up and tag, if anything, probably, I could easily see maybe like, some panic print of like, 4,900 or something crazy like that just to freak everybody out. And then you do a 50% level off of this recent high. So let's say 5,000 and 12,000, 17,000 divided by 2 is 8,500. And notice that basically the bottom of value there is that sort of 8,500 area. So I could see a nice little counter trend rally right back up to that POC on Thomas's screen, which is going to be that moving average cluster. And that's the original double top breakdown level. That's now going to be pretty big resistance going forward.
Yeah, this area here is what I'm looking at as a big problem. When you see these moving averages cross below the 200 period moving average, that ain't good. That to me means we're in a bear. I mean, obviously we're already in a bear market, but the moving averages are catching up to each other. And I can start taking trades on the daily time frame on the downside. So what I would do is I'd wait for this moving average cross, all three of them to cross down here, and you can just wait for the counter trend rally to re-short.
Okay, so just bear with me here a second. Somebody's asking if I can hide the participants. I did this once before Hypto Crypto, and the whole damn thing blew up, but I'll try.
You're probably asking me, and I cannot hide the participants.
Let's see what happens if I do this. Hypto Crypto, tell me if this works. But if we lose the audio, keep talking, Thomas. Just let me know, okay? So I'm going to click Thomas, present to everyone. So Hypto Crypto, do you now see only Thomas?
Can you hear me?
I can still hear you. How about people on YouTube? Can you still hear Thomas? We're just trying here, because I've seen this before, where when you do your presentation, we see all the people on the chat. Okay, looks like they're good. All right, good. All right, so continue, sir. Sorry to interrupt.
Cool, no problem. All right, just one last thing that I wanted to touch on. We were talking about this this bearish divergence that came in with this really messy looking M that brought us down, confirmed the neckline, and continued lower. We spent a good 3 days where we had confirmed this M but didn't drop, and people were like, "Oh, maybe it's not going to collapse." But the problem is you had a top. It wasn't a perfect top, but with this kind of divergence working on the daily time frame, it's just ugly. And here we are. We're selling off, and we're going to continue selling off here. The question is, are we going to bounce? And it doesn't really matter. It's just we're still going to be going downward, and that's the message of the market. So,
what's cool is, and I mentioned this yesterday, things like NBT, the gold versus Bitcoin. Now we've got a new one, True USD. These are all trending higher. So by all means, there is alternatives. You don't have to sit in Bitcoins.
Yeah. And you can see that the interest in Bitcoin is starting to fall, right? The average block size used to be consistently full at one megabyte. Now we're down to 3/4 of that. So you can see the networks being used less. Backlogs of transactions, those are resolving. In fact, the mempool is probably perfectly clear right now. You can just see the interest in using the network as price continues to fall. It's just going to continue to decrease because, well, all the retail public that was getting in and going crazy, they're the ones that are responsible for moving their coins from exchange to exchange. There's trading desks that are moving coins. and it's just empty. It's becoming a ghost town. And this is what we want, right? As a community here that trades and knows the proper levels of buying coins, you want to see people get less interested. You want to see the volatility get sucked out. And you want to see people go, you know what? Screw this. I don't want to do crypto anymore. And once you suck all those people back out of the market, that's when we start buying, which we're doing now, but there's still more buying to do. And then we can start going back up again. And then those same guys who sold, they're going to buy back in again when prices are higher. And you just start the same cycle over and over again.
Yeah. You know, like we talked about this in the show yesterday, and I think I got the reference wrong. But, you know, the sad part about it, guys, you know when we'll know the bottom comes in? When some bigger guy just rage quits and just dumps his position and just gives up. And that, unfortunately, is just a perfect tell. Okay, we're getting close to the bottom.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You can even see the interest waning in Ethereum. This article says that at its height, there were 350,000 new Ethereum addresses created every single day. Yesterday, only 84,000, which was slightly up from the other day at 60,000. So this article tries to compare the network usage to price, and the article concludes that there's no way of figuring the price structure, where price will go based on network usage. So we won't get into that anymore. As far as other news, I want to talk briefly about Coinbase, or excuse me, about the CBOE. So there's some interesting talk coming out from the CBOE from two different people. First, I want to start out with the kind of the lower end important guy who's working at the CBOE, who is the director of product development for the CBOE. And he did this interview with Cointelegraph on March 13th at a conference in the Quant conference in Venice. His name is Dennis O'Callaghan. And he talks about what it was like to launch these products and what a challenge it was. But the most important part is this last section where the person interviewing this guy asks, as the director of product management, do you have your eye on anything else in the crypto market? And is there anything else that you think the CBOE will bring in the crypto market? So this guy says, quote unquote, being in product development, our task is to look for new products all the time. So we are constantly evaluating that market, and we are evaluating other cryptocurrencies too, among other items. But we have seen how Bitcoin has worked. So we are definitely monitoring other markets to make sure that the infrastructure and everything is in place in case we want to pursue other cryptocurrencies. So that's kind of the appetizer here. And the main course is delivered by the CBOE president. And that guy is pretty much stating that, where is this? Here we go. So the president's name is Ed Tilly, and he basically states that they are definitively looking to bring new contracts and new assets to the CBOE. I'm trying to find the quote here. Latter March, according to CBOE. The vision is to have a crypto complex he says digital currencies are here to stay. So that's the CEO of the CBOE. And he said that the CBOE's choice would depend on customer demand and talks with regulators. Besides crypto-related futures contracts, the company would like to provide clients with exchange-traded notes and funds. So they're looking to expand the way that people can invest in crypto, not just through their futures product.
I was really impressed with David posted in the lounge that the London boys now are actually going to have a physically delivered futures contract. I thought that was really cool.
That's coming up next. I just wanted to say one more thing about the CME, which said they're not interested. They don't give a shit, basically. They said so there's this conference in Orlando that the president of the CBOE was interviewed at, saying that he does want to bring more assets and other crypto to the futures market. But then they interviewed the CME, and the COO revealed that they'd rather see Bitcoin regulated before they bring anything else to their market. So the CBOE and CME here have differing opinions about bringing new products in. But I do want to say, if there's anything that comes out publicly about which currencies they do plan to bring, expect those to go up quickly. So we're going to keep an eye on those for everybody and make sure we can get ahead of the curve. Obviously, we kind of have to guess that they're going to be the ones that are already on Coinbase. I'd be really pissed off to see Bitcoin Cash listed there. I think it has no place on any of the real regulated CBOE or CME markets, but hopefully they can keep that off the table there.
We should probably see it in the charts ahead of time. All right.
Yeah.
We'll know which ones are in play, because usually the bottoms come in on the charts ahead of time. So we just have to be super vigilant watching our charts.
Totally. So let's go to England. I know a couple weeks ago we stated that England was trying to become pro-crypto and help bring more products and make it easier for investors to get into crypto through England. And all the guys behind the scenes made it seem like that was the opposite. All the government regulators and people in charge in England are like, maybe we need to look into more regulation. But meanwhile, England has come out and pretty much granted Coinbase a license to do business. And in doing so, they opened up a bank. They opened up a bank account with Barclays. And I'm having trouble loading this article. I must have copied the wrong link, but this is really, really important stuff because
it's under the porn tab.
It might be. I must have misplaced it. Brian and I actually share material in the Daily Brief, so we've got. Never mind. Anyway, so Coinbase was granted this e-money license where they're essentially able to process fiat transactions that are going to enter the crypto realm. So they've been given the green light and given England has pretty much given them their blessing to conduct business here in England. So this is really important information because in doing so, there's a company called CoinFloor that is also going to be offering a futures product that, as Brian said, is going to be delivering physically settled Bitcoins. So if you open up a contract and you end up making money on your contract and you settle in the money, you're going to essentially be delivered your Bitcoin, which I don't know how they're going to make this work. The article kind of talks more about storage and security and how they made buying easy, but I don't think they released a time frame for when they're going to bring this up. But I would imagine that there's a rush to product. Oh, here it is. So they expect their first physically delivered contracts to launch in April. So that's pretty cool. This may end up stealing a lot of business from some of the real exchanges because this is now legitimized. And the other thing that makes this even more interesting is England is a part of the EU still, the UK. So any law that goes into effect is going to have to be overthrown by the EU Parliament. And I don't see that happening unless Brexit goes through. So if Brexit goes through, Coinbase and CoinFloor, if they're going to offer their products to the rest of Europe, they're going to have to open offices in the EU. And that leads me to one other point to make about Coinbase, in that as Coinbase continues to get granted more and more sort of legitimacy throughout the world, Coinbase has a really big responsibility now to maintain and keep crypto sort of in the limelight, and also to make sure that regulations don't get into place that would crush the innovation of the entire space. So Coinbase needs to kind of function as many companies do in the United States with their relationship with lobbyists, with influential people. Coinbase needs to start thinking about hiring government officials throughout the world. They have more than enough money now. They generated $1 billion in profit just between November and January.
Did you hear the guy yesterday? He said that, if I'm not mistaken, the Coinbase guy said that they spend 20% of their budget on compliance.
That's insane, right? I mean, and they'll probably need to spend more on hiring these individuals, because if Coinbase can get these guys on their side, I mean, the legitimacy of crypto will become widespread throughout the planet. As more and more offices are launched by Coinbase throughout the world, they're going to have more contact with these influential regulators, politicians, businessmen, whoever it may be. And the more people you can get on your side, obviously, the more legitimacy it adds to the product. And
the irony of it all is I'd make the argument that, well, that's what I mean. Grim says staff, not budget, but in essence, that's what I meant, Grim. But I would make the argument that decentralized exchanges probably might make all of these business models completely obsolete. It's so ironic. You can actually see the future. These guys are spending all this money and getting all these regulators and shit on board, and then crypto just goes and decentralizes, and we create these DEXs, and this becomes a dinosaur.
Well, I think that decentralized exchanges are going to play a huge role in the future, but I think that it's important that these sort of regulations, whatever they may be, or whatever you want to define them as, those are put into place before these decentralized exchanges take over that market share. And I think that that's in crypto's best interest, because regulators will look at these decentralized exchanges, especially after bankers start looking at them and start whispering to the regulators, hey, this is bad shit. This is really going to undermine the entire banking industry. You need to crush this. And if that happens, it's going to make it really difficult for the crypto idea to proliferate and the whole infrastructure to continue to expand in the way that we all would like it to expand. So if Coinbase sort of paves the road for those decentralized exchanges, that's great. And that's what I want to see. I want to see Coinbase lead the charge here. I want to see them say, okay, all these countries are going to approve Bitcoin withdrawals into your bank accounts. Coinbase has relationships with all these banks throughout the planet. And then the decentralized exchanges come and they say, hey, you know what? We're going to have a relationship with Coinbase, and anyone who wants to process withdrawals can do so. And once those regulations are already in place, it makes it super easy to do all that. So, I mean, that road is much less clear, but in my opinion, that's what I would like to see before the decentralized exchanges come up and take over the market share. So that's my blab. One more note, if anyone's in the US and has not filed their Coinbase, their taxes, again, we don't give tax advice, and standard disclaimer, we're not accountants or anything, but Coinbase has now launched a tool, which I looked at yesterday, which is fantastic. From when you've opened your account to 2017, they have now given you access to your entire history, buying and selling, and the fees that Coinbase collected from those transactions in detail. So you can now hand those over to your accountant, and he can help sort through what you've been doing. Now, there's a caveat to all this.
Do you do a lot of business on Coinbase? I don't think I've ever done business. I mean, TRI does business on Coinbase, but I've never traded through them.
I mean, I enter the market through GDAX if I want to put US dollars into Bitcoin. So the problem here is Coinbase has a standard disclaimer that says you really shouldn't be using this to file your taxes if you bought or sold digital assets on another exchange, because obviously you have to declare those. You can go through the list yourselves, but check the Coinbase tab out. It's certainly cool to see all your transactions back from 2015 listed. Neat stuff. So at least they're working to make it easier for people who had their information handed over to the IRS from whatever it was, 2011 to 2015. If you did more than $20,000 in transactions in that period, the IRS now has your information. So that's all the Bitcoin news that I want to cover here. We've gone over price. We've gone over the key information from the CBOE directors. We've gone over what England's planning to do. I want to move to some Ripple news. There is a huge lawsuit going on between Ripple and this company called R3. Now, this gets really complicated because this is a lawsuit that has been filed in Delaware, San Francisco, which is where Ripple is based, and New York. So essentially what this lawsuit is R3 is suing Ripple for an agreement in which Ripple agreed to sell 5 billion coins, Ripple coins, for a price of 0.0085 cents, which is pretty much a total of $1 million, and that they would pay it out anytime before the end of 2019. Now, the problem is that they don't want to pay that out because they're worth, those assets, those 5 billion Ripple are worth about 3.85 billion. So R3 made a killing on that contract that they made with Ripple. So Ripple's countersuing R3 because R3 was supposed to provide Ripple with some work on their infrastructure and on the X current system. And Ripple's alleging that, hey, R3 didn't do what they were supposed to do. So Delaware in 2017 in October, the court dismissed the case and said that, Ripple basically wins. R3 didn't deliver on the contractual agreement. However, in San Francisco, they just ruled that they can't countersue R3 for not delivering on their contract and that they are not in violation of their contractual obligation. So now it's kind of like a playoff game. So Delaware and San Francisco are tied. Now the court has to go, the resolution of this case will reside in New York, which will determine the result of the suit and whether or not R3 will get their $3.85 billion worth of Ripple coins. So lots of drama coming out of the Ripple scene. And I think that people were talking about shorting. I think I heard on the Altcoin Talk show last night, on the Coinigy show, excuse me, that Alex had shorted Ripple and was up like 1,200% or something. So congratulations to you, Alex, if you're listening to this. I'm sure this isn't going to help the price, but you never know with a coin like this that really isn't backed by anything other than the infrastructure that they're trying to roll out for the banks. So one more, Brian, do you have anything to say about Ripple, or you want to chime in here?
The only thing I would say is I never understood why this thing was as highly priced as it was. And I don't see any reason to be a buyer of Ripple here. So I think if anything, you just got to let that shit play out. And, I think the worst part about this is, I love the idea of Ripple as sort of and if anything, if the company behind Ripple was a publicly traded company, I'd be very interested in investing in that company. But I just don't understand why people would buy this Ripple token. It really doesn't have any value to it. So it's kind of weird, but oh well. That's the only comment I would make. And really, you look at your profile there, you can see it's flirting with the value. If we accept into value, we're probably heading right back down to the original bottom there.
Crush all the noobs' hearts.
Yeah, well, one professional football player is probably going to have to go play a few more years of football to make up for this gap.
Yeah.
But hats off to Alex. If anything, I love Alex. He's just a pure fundamentalist. And so when he was hearing the guy on CNBC talking about how wonderful Ripple was, that was in itself, all right, time to just throw a short on. I don't care. I just got a short, which I find amusing. But, hopefully everybody can just simply learn from this. And if you are, new to trading, if you are new to markets, there's nothing new going on here. This is so normal. And, when we go through the uppie, you never hear about ankle biting. You don't hear about infighting. You don't hear about lawsuits. But when the market breaks and things start coming off, that's when usually all the shit starts hitting the fan. So cliche. Yep. But, you're doing a fantastic job, Thomas. And I think the people watching this video get super, super value out of your contributions. So you're just kicking ass, man. Just keep on doing what you do.
Thanks. Try to keep up and make sure everyone knows what's going on. We've got the technicals covered on your side, and I just want to make sure people are covered on the news and know what's coming down the pipeline. So hopefully 1 + 1 = 3.
Yeah, well, hopefully maybe even 4 or 5 if we're lucky.
4 or 5 doubles, yeah.
So you've been doing any, what time is it here? We got about 10, 15 minutes left. Do we want to throw around some altcoin ideas? Are you nibbling on anything these days?
Yeah, I mean, I've been nibbling a little bit. I don't know if we should cover this. Does anyone do you own TrueCoin or have you heard of that?
Doesn't sound familiar to me. TrueCoin?
Yeah, so this was the whole thing that was supposed to be another Ripple replacement.
We were talking about that yesterday, and actually, the boys were teasing me that I wasn't aware of this. Is this another one of these sort of dollar proxy kind of plays?
Yeah,
That's
it
this.
is. It's basically like a Tether proxy,
All
or the
right.
same
So
thing as
what's
Tether.
the foot out of this thing?
Well, this is a little old, and I wanted to cover it
And
last week.
that guy's always going on about these fucking tether things, eh? That
Oh
Bitfin
yeah.
guy. I mean, this guy just doesn't quit.
So he has come up with some research where he went to FinCEN to see if they were registered with FinCEN. So anyone that wants to be anybody in the United States, you need to be registered with FinCEN. I mean, even Tether is registered. So, which he says here, even Tether is registered as an MSB. And you can see from this that they have their escrow holdings report. They claim $4.7 million in their escrow account. They say it's held in Prime Trust LLC, that they're registered as a company called TrueCoin LLC. And then when you go to FinCEN, which anyone can do, and I highly suggest if you're planning on doing any kind of investing into actual companies that are supposed to be registered, go on this website and look for them. This is the easiest thing you can do to make sure that you don't get fucked. And if you go to this website run by fincen.gov, and you type in their name and you don't find a match, something is fishy and you got to stay away. I mean, you don't want to put your money into a name like this when it's not even registered as an actual business here. So this is really worrisome, according to Bitfinex. I mean, what we should do is probably see if they have registered it since then. Oops, fincen.gov. What's the rest of the URL? /MSB registrant dash search. All right, let's see what we get. So we're going to look for TrueCoin and see if Bitfinex made any kind of difference in forcing them to register. And no, so you can see nothing. Let's see if they have any kind of identifiable information in this.
Is it True USD, maybe?
Yeah, let's check that. Nope.
Interesting.
Maybe it's their DBA. Nope, nothing. So I'd be really, I'd probably not do anything with this company. 325 9th Street. Let's check out if they're registered through this. Address and nothing. So, if you're interested in getting into TrueCoin, I'd be skeptical of what this is all about.
So maybe who is this Daniel Ann? Maybe do a Google search of this person and see what comes up for them. Maybe not on that on this thing here. So yeah, actually it'd be interesting to do a little bit of a due diligence here. Thank you for the heads up, Thomas. That's smart.
Yeah. I think I
heard that this guy had a pretty good reputation.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly weird. So someone asked, what? Just true, no. All right, so that's all the research we can do on this. You can just see that they're not registered with FinCEN, which FinCEN requires registration if you're going to be doing this kind of business. So be careful. You've been warned. All right, so you were asking me about any coins that I'm nibbling on. I think I just nibbled on, I think I just got filled on Quark. Let me see if I can find that one. I mean, I set my bids. I have a few more bids that I had working that I was going to let play out, but I have a bunch of names that I'm watching and I haven't set any bids on those. So the ones that I do have bids set on, I'm just going to let those play out. So you can see here, this is below 88.6, but there's really no indication that this is a bottom, right? I mean, you don't have any kind of divergence.
Low value though, eh? Wow, that does look good.
Yeah, so I took a little nibble. We'll see what happens, but I have no problem buying when they're this low. Could we go lower below these lows? I mean, that's the question everyone needs to be asking themselves here. We're all doing a great job drawing our reload zones and buying 88.6. I don't want to worry anybody, but you do have to wonder, is it possible for us to dip below this level? And if Bitcoin were to go down to $2,000, $3,000, I think there would be names that do go below these lows. So stink bids get stinkier, or what you do is you just wait, see where this market decides to go.
Yeah.
Everything's in a great range.
Totally see, just FYI, everybody, I could totally see some nice FU moves against these lows, just to break the kids' hearts, final sort of dagger in their heart. And I've seen this time and time again in this space where, and let's see if we can even find it here. Yeah, here's a good example. I don't know whether you can see my screen, but come down for maybe a month or two, just, against these old lows, run some stops, big jump ups. But in essence, and this is what I see happen a lot is, after the dust settles, there's 78.6. We come down, play with that. You can see how the market is coming back against 78.6 and playing some more. Could they do exactly the same thing here and come down, break these lows, come back up, play against 78.6? Totally. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. But at the same time, too, and really I like Thomas's thinking, right? We've got this ultimate low here, probably where the developers put the bottom into this thing. So if you can sneak in off of this level here, can you make money going forward on any kind of rally into these wicks here? I think you can make lots of money. So Nanny Nibbles kind of idea. I like that idea. I think that's very smart of Thomas. Pound the table? Nah, not quite. I agree with you, sir. I like the idea of nibbling there. It's not a bad idea. I guess the question ultimately is, do we have any fundamental drivers? I think it's really important, kind of like what I said in the show yesterday. If you're in the, hey, I want to make money from trading, I want to trade setups, and I want to see these things pop, what we really got to do is we got to build that list of fundamental events coming up, because that's what's going to drive these pump ups, whether it be a listing on one of Thomas's exchanges, on Coinbase or whatever, whether it be new wallets, new developers. That GEO popped the other day because it officially had moved over to Ubiq, all that kind of stuff, right? We got to find the fundamental drivers.
How about an airdrop?
Airdrops are interesting. Those they often, it's what I'm hearing is the developers have decided to leave ICOs and use airdrops as their primary marketing tool. So I'm hearing a lot about airdrops are now becoming the primary way for developers to get to the public.
Yeah, there's an airdrop coming up on my favorite that I keep mentioning every week.
What's the symbol on this thing again?
Walton Chain is WTC, and there's an airdrop called, it's their first child chain. Oh, that's a tongue twister. Friar Chain. Walton Chain's first child chain, Friar Chain, the world's first blockchain-based collectibles data authenticity platform. So they're going to be airdropping 4 FREC for every 1 Walton you have stored in your personal wallet, with the caveat that you have to have at least 50 Walton in your personal wallet, to which you own your own private key. So anyone that has less than 50 Walton, you're not going to get anything. And anyone who has their coins held on an exchange, you're also not going to get anything. So you have to move it over to your private. Yeah, I mean, all these airdrops, you never know which one's going to be supported and which one they're not. So
how long until this FREC actually becomes trading?
So this looks like, yeah, that's the other thing. When's it going to be listed? Is it going to be listed on an exchange? But hey, if you own those coins, it's not going to cost, Binance does charge annoying withdrawal fees, but hey.
So if you have your coins on Binance, you will get the airdrop?
No, you have to move them to your own private wallet. You
What a
cannot keep
headache.
them on the exchange. At least Binance hasn't come out and said they're going to support this, which looks like the airdrop is on March 21st when they take the snapshot, and the Walton Chain team will send those coins before March 26th. So I wonder if we can see what this would be trading on.
Well,
Actually,
Thomas is looking at that. I mean, my 2 cents here, guys. I really don't think it's a good idea to go and buy Walton here. This is dangerous territory.
yeah.
I do like working bids against this original bottom here, and maybe after Thomas's airdrop is done, they dump the price back in, fill in this notch, and I would be a buyer against this bottom here. But I don't know about here. This looks really dangerous, guys.
I was telling everyone that I had bought Walton Chain back a couple weeks ago, and then that pop up that happened, I managed to get out probably 75% of my position.
Oh, really? I decided to hop.
Well, it was just the problem is when you go through all these coins and you look at the things, big names like OMG, Neo, things like that, you start to see them coming into early reload zones, whether that's the 61.8, 50% isn't technically a reload zone, but you see these things tag 50%, bounce, and then continue lower. So I figured, why don't I get a big part of my position off the table, and I can keep buying if it does continue lower. And all the FUD that was happening that we were covering with their Twitter account, it just, it's too early. All these coins still have more time to go down, and I'm not in a hurry to hold on to things like this.
And I think that's got to be a real message to the community, guys. We shouldn't be in a big hurry right now. It sucks. I know you're like, yeah, I want to make money, man. I want to make money. But now is not the time to push. I used to work with an old broker buddy who used to always say, you cannot push a chain. You just can't. And this, trying to force winning long trades in crypto right now, in my opinion, is like trying to push a chain. We can't push. You just can't, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, why would you want to hold on to any of the? I mean, with the exception of a select few that are real winners here. But
I love the idea of going in and nibbling when they're just throwing these things out. Love that. Yeah. But don't be like, all right, this thing's going to go 10x tomorrow. That's not the kind of market we're in right now.
Right. And I mean, there are people that are day trading these altcoin markets, and this is a perfect example of a great day trade. You had 2 days to get out of this. You saw the rise. I mean, we didn't even have a decent looking W come in on the daily chart. So why is this thing going to go any higher? There was really no fundamental driver other than this news that came out that Walton Chain was partnering with, what was it, Alibaba or somebody. I covered that a couple weeks ago. But the next day,
I'm not sure what the YouTubers are seeing right now. I have clicked on my chart, but I think we're actually still presenting you to everybody, Thomas. Just
okay. I got to get those porn sites off that we're sharing.
So
anyway,
maybe and
just be careful with these names. I mean, I know everyone likes these big names like Neo and OMG, and I mean, even things like Dash, which I think there was something in the news that Dash was just listed on a UK exchange that processes transactions directly from people's bank accounts. So that's an interesting one.
I saw Dash was breaking down here, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, all these good names, they're all breaking down. I mean, this one looks like it's going to come down to 88.6. That just put in an M. I always keep tuning Litecoin, and that's like $150 on the USD range right now. That's pretty close to where I had no problem going long from. I don't know if I still have bids working there, and if they didn't get filled here. And I have bids sprinkled throughout this whole area down to under $100 again. I still like this trade. I think the community is still really bullish on this. And my own personal opinion is that Litecoin is going to be the one that's listed on the CBOE. Why that would make sense from a crypto perspective, it doesn't. But hey, That's just how it's happened on Coinbase and how it's happened throughout the rest of the space, is that Litecoin follows Bitcoin. So why wouldn't it make sense for it to be listed on the futures exchanges like the CBOE? I don't think they're ready to take a product like NEO or OMG that's from, overseas. Maybe, Dash could potentially be one because it's, US based, I believe. But, your guess is as good as anyone else. Ethereum could be it. But
I gotta say, if there was anything that I do like that of the senior names, really, and I actually got just a cheeky ass fill yesterday, but there was a nice gap on ETC that needed to be filled from back here, and we got filled on our bid just above the gap there yesterday. I wonder, it's funny how ETC is just sort of flying under the radar screen here for everybody. But I doubt, here's a good example of one that I have no problem whatsoever being a buyer against all these key lows.
Yeah, I'd love to see it consolidate sideways here and then put in a nice
W, eh? Yeah.
Oh, I have to check on my coins. I know I got the Ethereum airdrop. I just haven't checked my wallet. I don't even remember what were they called?
All right,
Oh, well.
there you go. All right, that is the pass to the top of the hour. So, what do you think? I think we've given the community some stuff to think about here today.
Yeah, I hope. Callisto. Thanks, Albert. Yeah, I hope we helped you guys out. I hope the news helps everyone get an idea of what the world is thinking about crypto and help you get a better perspective that, hey, this shit's going down, but it's not going to zero. It's not going to disappear. It's just going to get cheap. And that should be your wet dream here, right? Get your money ready, buy it when it's cheap, and then we can all get rich together. And everyone used to love watching Brian's portfolio go from $500 all the way up to where it was at its peak. And there's no reason why every single person who's listening to me right now should not be able to do the same thing.
Yeah, the cool part about this, I think, is in the stock market, a correction like this might take years to play out. But in crypto, it happens so fast. And the irony of it all is May, June, July, people aren't even going to remember this shit. They're going to totally have forgotten. And it's weird how they literally are schizophrenic. Like literally somebody will just flip the switch. All right, we're officially back into bull mode. All the bottoms start coming in and woo, away we go again. And everybody's completely forgotten the past 6 months of shit. And so, my advice to everybody here is, just enjoy life. The market isn't going face rip up right now, but so what? They're cleaning the market up. Get your powder all ready. And when these bottoms come in, we'll rinse and repeat and do it all over again.
Yeah. There is one more thing I want to touch on last second here. Sorry about that. Is Bittrex delistings. Someone had PM'd me on the site and asked me if there was any way of figuring out which coins are going to get delisted from Bittrex. And my answer was essentially someone smarter than me probably would have already figured that out. But I think what the key thing from taking away from these delistings is that Bittrex wants to be in compliance with the SEC. They're US based. They're going to take anything that's considered a token or security off their platform so that the SEC doesn't breathe down their neck for, not complying with securities laws. So if there was a way to predict which one of these are to be delisted, it's to find out which ones would violate securities laws. Which one of these shalt coins is really a shalt coin? Which one it just doesn't make sense to own for that reason. That's probably how you can start to understand and predict which one of these will be taken off the exchange. And it's going to be a hell of an extensive process. So if you want to spend the time and the effort doing that, great. But that's why we're buying small positions here, is if you're buying a 1 to 5% of your altcoin portfolio on each one of these names, I mean, you should really only be doing 1%, but you're not going to be devastated by a delisting event where coin names like CPC and Club automatically just became devalued by 50% because they were going to be delisted. And the fact that no one else really supports them except for Yobit and a couple of the other graveyard exchanges, that may be another way of figuring this out. Is it a coin that's supported on Polo? Is it a coin that's supported on Binance? If it's not something supported by the big exchanges, I'd be pretty worried that it may not be on Bittrex for much longer. I think they're going to continue to clean house here as prices continue to decline. And if you start finding those names and you can do that research, it's probably a list that we should start putting together so that we can help each other out to prevent our names from being devalued by 50% in just a few hours. So if anyone wants to start spearheading that effort, I'm happy to also help do that as well. Maybe I'll put together a spreadsheet, or if anyone else smarter than me knows how to come up with metrics for that, let's have a meeting. Let's figure that out, because I think it's all in our best interests to kind of get rid of the shit in our portfolio. So with that being said,
I mean, for whatever it's worth, I've seen lots and lots of names where just because Trex tells them there's crap, you move them on over to Cryptopia, and 6 months later, you're banging out doubles there. So, I do completely understand if you are a U.S.-based exchange, Big Brother is shitting violently on your head right at the moment. And it will be interesting to see if these, overseas exchanges have to play ball as well. For those people that are new to the space and you're trying to figure out, this was the whole point in the Level 1 program, to go through your fundamental screener. And Dav built a really cool little screener that we give to everybody. And one of his criteria is this coin listed on multiple exchanges? And I think it behooves all of us that we try and concentrate on names that have outs. If you have a coin that's just listed on Trex, that leaves you extremely vulnerable. But also, too, keep in mind that you can simply just move the coins off of these exchanges and keep them on wallets. I've got like the Omni wallet working right now. And a lot of the coins that Trex is booting off, I just move over to the Omni wallet and just keep them off exchange. But that's Crazy Brian, right? Remember Crazy Brian? He just wants to own everything. So you don't necessarily have to go that route if you want to make it a fundamental criteria that you are not going to buy a coin unless you have several outs. I have no problem with that whatsoever. I think that's very wise, very smart.
So for a name like Club, you would probably transfer that to Yobit.
I mean, and what's really weird about Yobit is the account just is growing like crazy, because they just keep spitting out more and more stuff. So I guess Trex is giving these guys the boot. In fact, I think I already moved this over, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know whether I did or not. But yeah, I mean, me personally, I wouldn't have a problem with that. The only issue here, and I've seen this happen before in this space, is it actually a functioning blockchain? A lot of these names that Trex delist, I mean, these coins are just toast. I mean, they just don't even have an operating blockchain. And ironically enough, Yobit is more than happy to trade names. They'll call them cryptocurrencies, but they don't even have blockchains. So, obviously, be very careful about dealing with Yobit. I consider Yobit our garbage can. And it's sort of like one of our last outs. If I can't find anywhere else to go, I'll send it to Yobit. So if this is the case and my hands are tied, but really what you probably have to do is go over to Trex and just find out whether there's a bunch of sites on the internet and stuff where, Blockchain Explorer, I think, is one of them, where you can actually go and just take a look at the actual blockchain itself of the coin and see whether it's even operating or not. Does that have is that that's CPC? Yeah. So CPC is another one. I think if anything, I got to go and grab an account on that Live. I see quite a few coins that get, turfed, head over to that Live exchange. So yeah, if anything, we've been in this space for 4 years. I've got lots of dogs in the books, no doubt about it. Not going to sugarcoat it. Some of the names that you do buy are going to go off the board. And if anything, this is yet again another testament to, don't bite off more than you can chew in venture capital, and don't put yourself in a position that if one of your names goes under, you're toast, right? Always play from a position of strength. So.
Yeah, this is great. Club Coins Twitter they haven't tweeted since January.
Well,
2017.
I don't know whether Jeremy's around. He's got that site handy, but there is actually a site we can actually go and look at the actual the block explorer or whatever, and see when the last blocks and stuff were issued for this thing. I don't even know whether it's even active anymore or not.
Well, it looks like their blockchain is working again as of a month ago. Their subreddit is not very active.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it gives us all something to chew on through the day. All right, so we're well past the top of the hour. I think we've done the community a good job here today. Thomas, excellent contributions as always. And of course, if we leave it up to the community, we'll be here another couple hours, right? So we better cut it off when we should cut it off.
I guess we could probably blab all day about this. We should just have an all-day news network.
All right, guys. I think I'm going to leave it at that for today. Try and play from a position of strength. Thank you very much, Thomas, for excellent contribution as always. Garrett has actually asked me before we take off here to remind everybody that we've created a Southern Ontario TRI. I think this is a Telegram group, isn't it, Garrett? Garrett set this up. Anybody who's in the Southern Ontario region and would like to converse with the group, I don't know if you can see my screen, if I'm showing it or not. But anyway, Garrett started this up, and he asked me just to give a shout out. If you are in Southern Ontario and you'd like to converse with other Southern Ontarians, reach out to Garrett. He'll be more than happy to give you that link so you guys can commune there. Other than that, I think we did pretty well here for the audience. So you all have yourselves an awesome rest of your day. I will be out with Liam for a good portion of this afternoon, and also at his school, Moon Boy parent-teacher conferences, all that fun stuff. So I'll be in and out the site, but by all means, the level oneers are PMing me tons, asking lots of questions. Garrett and James have also been helping. Of course, Thomas has got his tutorial machine. Grim has got his tutorial machine. And San, one of the students reminded me that he's still gunning for that top mark in the level 1 program. So I see you over there on the YouTube page. I still hope you're prepared to honor your deal there, because these level 1ers, they want to collect. All right, guys, you have yourself an awesome rest of your day. So proud of this community. Let's all just keep working together. 1 + 1 = 3. Thomas bringing it on a regular basis. Love it. Love the content. We're all heading in a really good direction here. So let's all just keep on keeping on. Put a smile on your face. Have yourselves a great day. All the best. And bye for now.